is well known for his baby Falak case, which was, popular nationwide. So he has been practicing law since 12 years. Am I right, sir?
Yes, you are absolutely right.
And for a law student like me, you're an inspiration, sir.
Thank you so much for the same. And I say good evening to all of you, my friends. And the topic which has been given to me, I'll say it's a very well thought topic. Who has selected this topic? The name itself suggests that word rape has a malicious demon evil attached to it. So while I was looking for the word demon, I have got it has something related to a devil. And definitely these accused who are rapists are not less than the devil. So the meaning attached in the word, the topic chosen today itself has a meaning attached to it. So just shortening the interpretation of the word, now I am straight away coming to the some grave and worrying statistics about the rape. Today we will not talk on the more of subjective thing, but we would rather go on to some practical data and the practical aspects of rape. So the first grave and worrying statistics in India with regard to rape is that rape is the fourth most common crime against the woman in India. Nearly 1 in 3 rape victims in India are under the age of 18. A new rape case is reported in every 20 to 22 minutes in India. In India, we don't have the concept of marital rape, though it is an offense when it is done with the spouse after the separation. And the data which I have also collected, it says that in the year 2012, the percentage of the conviction in the rape case was 24.2%. Another survey which I have got it says that according to the National Crime Reports Bureau, 156,327 rape cases were total in trial in the year 2018. Out of these trial was completed 17,313 cases, resulting conviction in only 4,708 cases, and there was acquittal in 11,133 rape cases, and there were discharge in 1,472 cases. So the data are themselves glaring and need to be looked into. So while many believe that justice has been delivered in the Nirbhaya case with the death warrants being issued against the rapists, the conviction rate, the case is absurdly low at 27.2% at present, which activists say is due to the lapses in the criminal justice system. So what is rape? I'm not going to the dictionary meaning or to the IPC meaning. I will say that rape is a sexual intercourse with an individual without her consent through force, threat, and in many jurisdictions, the crime of rape has been subscribed under the sexual assault, which also encompasses the acts that fall short of intercourse. So rape has a crime has very devastating effect on the survivors. What I'll say is that survivors are the newborn babies and small children.
I think your audio is lagging, sir.
So survivors.
We're getting comments that your audio is lagging.
So what I say, am I audible now? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible to me. Yes, sir, it is audible now.
Yeah. So yes, in India, the rape survivors are like the new small babies, just like the small children of 5 to 7 years of age. In India, the people are crossing the heights of cruelty, and imagine the pain of the girls who suffer this rape. The punishment of rape in India vary according to the age of the victim.
So the warriors.
Because the small girls who even hasn't started speaking being raped, they don't even know what the rape is. You forget about the consent part. Even adults describe it as a big heinous crime that we pray to the God. So all the feminists agree that rape is grave wrong, one too often ignored, mischaracterized, and legitimized the feminist thought and activism, who challenge the myth that rape is rare and exceptional. Showing is that a fact in common experience in the lives of the girl and woman in recent decades. This awareness emerged in feminist speakouts and consciousness raising groups where women shared their experience of rape and other forms of sexual abuse. Perhaps what I see the most basic challenge that feminists have posed to the traditional views of rape lies the recognition of rape as a crime against the victim herself. For much of recorded history, women were property of men. Their value as property measured largely as sexual purity. Both social and legal understandings of the rape are typically based at least partly on the notion of consent. So a further complicating question which is raised is that whether the criminal law's usual requirement of mens rea, that is guilty mind, should apply to rape, and if so, how that requirement should be interpreted. In most of the general terms, a mens rea requirement means that a prosecution must show that non-consensual sex was occurred between the two, but also that man was in certain state of mind with regard to the woman's lack of consent. So rape is still a underreported crime in India. People or the victims' fear of social isolation and not wanting others to know about the rape for the reason that the same would lower their own identity and their family's reputation would be at stake. They stay quiet. In cases of minor victims, lack of awareness of reporting the cases is also a major problem of putting the undue influence and threat of accused. But this is not the solution, because the draconian act which happened can happen to anyone in future. So just to save your reputation from the society, you are risking the life of other girls. Rape is a crime which cannot be pardoned, in my opinion. The criminals deserve to be punished what they have done. So I've also tried to make some of the reasons of rape. But in my view, after reading so many judgments and journals, what I have come to that there are certain reasons which throw that the rapist must have committed rape because of this. So some of those notable reasons are that the rapist is not able to control his lust, and a rape has been done to get rid of his frustration. There is a lack of education, progress, one's biological reason. Sometimes the reason of rape is also seen to be a revenge. On this revenge part, I would also be giving you one case law, which was a famous case. Wrong reasons, which in my opinion, all of these reasons, in my opinion, should be the reasons which are wrong. They should not be taken as a reason. They should not be taken as a defense. So and there are certain other, if I'll say, there is a group in the society which says, why this is increasing. So as we have seen many of our political leaders who do not think before speaking at large, they say that more westernization of the girls, internet and phone, short dresses weared by the girls in the pubs and discs, the late night parties, drinking by girls in public. However, in my opinion, one cannot form this as to be the basis and the reasons for increase in the crime of rape. You cannot push.
Definitely not.
You cannot push it to the girls. You have to change your mindset. So, other thing which I have also looked into is like types of rape. One most common type of rape is the acquaintance rape, date rape, when a victim and the rapist know each other. It's like rape of the co-workers, schoolmates, friends, and in between relatives. The other type of rape is spouse, marital, wife, husband rape. Rape between a married or a de facto couple who having like a couple but they are not married. Then we have this most devastating, the gang rape. when a group of people participate in a rape of a single victim. Then you have this minor rape when a child is raped by the adult. In this, it can be a parent, it can be a relative, it can be a school teacher. So, notably, what has been done now, that the Criminal Law Act has now been amended in section 114A of the Indian Evidence Act 1872 has been inserted, which presumed that there is an absence of consent on certain prosecutions of rape if the victim says so. This applied to the custodial rape also. So after coming of this provision, there is a lots and lots of easiness which has come for the victim in establishing that there was no consent of her while the sex was done by the rapist against her will and consent. I think all of you are aware about the nationwide public outcry in 2012. Following the December gang rape, the Nirbhaya case led to the passing of the Criminal Law Amendment Act in 2013, which widened the definition of rape and the punishment has been made more stringent. Parliament made the amendments on the recommendation of Honorable Mr. Justice Retired J.S. Verma Committee was established, which constituted to relook into the criminal laws in the country and recommend the various changes in those laws. Also, the section 228A of the IPC, which makes it mandatory to maintain privacy about the identity of the victim and non-disclosure of the crime after it has been reported, so that the reputation will not be infringed and the victim doesn't face the societal criticism. Further, there are certain organizations who works for the rape victim. Even if the rape victim is not getting support from the family, she can contact them directly. The 2013 Act, which came into effect on April 2, 2013, increased jail terms in most of the sexual assault cases and also provided for a death penalty in rape cases that cause of the victim leaves her in the vegetative state. It also created new offenses, such use of criminal force with a woman to intend to outroot her, disrobe, voyeurism, and stalking. So by way of that amendment, section 354A to 354D was added, and most of the sexual assaults got covered. The punishment of gang rape has now been increased to 20 years to imprisonment for life from the earlier 10 years of life imprisonment. Earlier, there was no specific provision in law for offenses such as use of welcome physical contact, words, gesture. But 2013 Act clearly defined these offenses and allocated punishment for them, which we say that it was a welcome step from the legislature. Then another case which I want to discuss with you is in January 2018, an 8-year-old Rasana village near Kathua, that was Kathua rape case in Jammu and Kashmir, was abducted, raped and murdered by a group of men. The news of the shocking act led to the nationwide protest and calls for harsher punishment. This led to the passing of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2018, which for the first time death penalty as possible punishment for a rape under the age of 12 years of a girl, where the minimum punishment is 20 years in the jail, has been introduced. Another new section has been inserted in the IPC to specifically deal with the rape of a girl under the age of 16 years. The provision made the offense punishable imprisonment of 20 years, which may extend to imprisonment for life. The minimum jail term for rape, which has been remained unchanged, now has become 7 to 10 years. So even after, I may say, the 2013 reform, 2018 amendment, one thing which is still left is the marital rape, which has not been yet conceptualized and has been made as a law. When the wife and the husband live together, continued not to be a crime in India. Section 376B of the 2013 law made forced sexual intercourse by a man with his wife, if she is living separately, a crime, whether under a decree of separation or otherwise punishable. Forced sex by a man on his wife also be considered as a prosecutable, but those has been prosecutable under the Domestic Violence Act and under section 498A IPC. So which in our opinion can still be amended. In case of rape, whether there is death or not, basic evidence, would be the medical reports of the girl, which should come within the 24 hours of the crime. Even other factors play an important role, such as if there is any CCTV camera present in the spot or any witness of the crime, the consent of the girl, whether the victim is a minor or not, because if she is a minor, then consent does not even count in the case of the rape. So before going to the conclusion of this short journey on rape topic, I'll be discussing these 2-3 important cases which changed the mindset of the legislature, and they have been bound and forced to think of the amendments in the rape laws to make it more stringent, more stricter. So the first was,
Okay, sir.
which a nationwide throwout case was the Nirbhaya gang rape case. Everybody remembers the 16 December 2012, Delhi, and what has been happened with that girl. I don't want to even repeat it. The rapists are now been hanged and they have been punished. Another thing is the mass rape in UP. That has happened in 30th of July 2007. Many of us would have forgotten it, but the statistics are still there, where the six Muslim women were raped by some Hindu gang just on the pretext as a revenge that a sane community boy, Salim Rahman, with the elder daughter Vandana Dwivedi of the former village pradhan of the community, got married. So the reason which I told you, that in some cases the revenge is also a reason of committing rape on the girls. Then another important case is Orissa nun rape case, which was happened on 25th of August 2008, and the victim is yet seeking the doors of the courts and the justice is still awaited. So if we say that only after the Nirbhaya's case, the rape victims have got their justice from the courts, the matter does not end here. It still requires a lots and lots of improvements, not only at the level of the ground, but at even level of the administrative side. In my view, keeping in view the time factor also, I would like to conclude it like that in addition to these mental health issues caused due to the physical violence, the victim pain is aggravated by the social violence, which follows this traumatic experience and hinders the normalization of the victim. The social stigma attached to the sexual assaults may lead to the stigmatization of the assaulted victim. It begins with the stigmatism and blame when the victim reports the experience. The victim's clothing, behavior, choice of entertainment, and place and timing may be held responsible for the occurrence of such acts. This indirectly supports the assaulters and establish a rape culture where attitudes that permits the promoting of rape prevent. Furthering, this is the issue of future family life and marriage of rape survivors. So, how these rape survivors would get, a place for themselves in the society after being raped. For that, I would like to conclude in the 1 minute that the questions are raised as to who will accept and marry a rape survivor or a girl. Now, this is a high time that our youth, who are the biggest catalysts for change, as we have seen in the past, what happened after the Nirbhaya gang rape case, it was the youth who came onto the roads, who came out in the nationwide protests. And because of the voice of the youth, the legislature who is sitting have to change these rape laws. So now the time has come that this youth only set up some new examples by having a change in their mindset and should come and give acceptance to such marriages and make the society realize that the rape is by force and not a choice of any girl. Victim social isolation. So with this, I would conclude my part. Now, if there are any question here from your side, you can take it up.
Yes, so if anybody has any questions regarding to what sir has said today, or
No,
if you want to personally ask something, please comment.
I think Preeti, we have certain questions lined up from your side, so let those be taken up first, and thereafter the
Yes,
questions
sir, we
of
can.
the
Okay. So, sir, the intensity of rape is differs from every rape case, as we know.
So I'll take up the question
none
wise.
of the rape cases are similar.
I'll take up the question wise which has been provided to me by your platform. So the first question was that rape is a grave, rape is a grave crime. As we all know, almost half of the rape cases are not even reported due to the family's reputation being distorted. What would be your message to the rape survivors and their families in such cases? So my answer to your first question is that my only message for the rape victims and their families is that no one deserves to be treated like you did, and everyone deserves justice. And the only possible way to get justice is to fight. So the rape victim and their families are worried about the further humiliation given by the society and the danger their lives by the perpetrator. If the victim would come forward, then only the other victims who want and seek the justice would also come forward. Further, we as a society also need to be more responsible in our approach towards the rape victim, and we should avoid looking them as an accomplice in the crime. So the second question, which was from your side, was in the case of a death of a rape victim, what would be the most important evidence of the crime? So in my view, the most important evidence in the case of a rape of a victim, that the evidence of the prosecutrix, that is the testimony of the victim, as well as after the death is there, medical reports and the evidence well corroborated with the time of the commission of the offense would also suffice the thing. In case where the rape victim is dead and there is a dying declaration we have, so then section 32(1) of the Indian Evidence Act that the victim made at the time of before the then that becomes the most important evidence of the crime if available. The next question which was from your side was, do you think that the laws that we have there demonstrate that rape victims is enough, or should we have some amendments to it? Well, for that I have to say that as far as the adequacy of laws are concerned, I believe there has been a sea change in the entire scenario, what it was prior to 2012 and 2018. But however, what is more important now is the proper reporting of the crimes, the cases, the sensitive investigation, and the deterrence of the existing laws, which implies speedy disposal and effective punishments be given to the rapists. I believe that just by enhancing the punishments, the situation will not improve. Unless the people would get to know that they are committing such a heinous offense and they are not going to walk free. Having said that, I also like to make a point that there has been sometimes a misuse of the rape laws, which led into the extortion. So such things should not come and should not be invited. And such misuse should be discouraged and avoided all the times. However, we have seen an insertion of this section 114A, as I've already discussed, is an important change to believe the testimony of the rape victim, and the presumption is raised in her favor. The changes, as suggested by the Justice Verma Committee in 172 Law Commission report, is very relevant, and I think the most of them should be implemented. So the next question from your side was, as we have seen the delay in the justice of Nirbhaya case, and the people of India has questioned the judiciary in that matter. What is your view on it? Well, I have a little more to say in this. That the delay in the disposal of the rape cases is not limited to one such only Nirbhaya case, but many other victims who are in the row are waiting for the justice to be delivered to them. The system delay combines many factors with it, but most important delay is the procedural level delay, which has to be cured at the earliest. The time-bound disposal of the matter is very important. The snail piece disposal of the cases demotivated the rape victims to come forward and seek justice from the court for themselves. To some extent, I would also agree that the defense lawyers are also responsible for the delay in these rape cases. But the most important factor is the inadequacy of the state machinery. According to me, what we believe that the concept of equal and fair trial is being misused to harass the victims as to force them to withdraw their cases. Every person has a right of fair trial, but the judiciary must in every case discourage the misuse. So the last question which I think is, why does the punishment of rape vary with the age of rape of the victim? It's a very good question which has been raised from your side. The punishment of rape varies with the victim's age because of the impact on the rape on the victim's life. It is true that irrespective of the victim's age, the impact of rape on the social and mental health is grave. The trauma is same as the victim is being more humiliated and depressed, and is very difficult for them to come back from the trauma and live the normal life again with the same confidence. But everything is dependent in the case when minor victim, because in some cases minors are not even able to understand what happened with them and their life is shaken even before starting. So the punishment of rape where the victim is above 18 years of age, the rigorous imprisonment of not less than 10 years has been made now, and which can be extended for the life. If the perpetrator comes within the criteria of section 376(2), where the victim is the case is the minor, the punishment can extend up to life. And in the case of a gang rape on women under the age of 12 years, now the legislature has made it that a capital punishment can be awarded. So with this, I think your questions have been answered now. So if the questions are by any of the viewers, then you take it up and I will answer them.
Okay, so I think we have a lot of questions.
So you take one by one. I'll try to see that how many I can answer.
Okay. Okay, sir. So what I saw in common in these questions are about the Nirbhaya rape case. So most of our viewers are asking why was there such a delay in the judgment, and even if justice was served, was it worth enough? Because it had taken so many years.
Yeah, I know, and I am agreeing to it. You know, the conscience of many got shaked. This was one such case.
Yes, sir.
Which led the nation stand stubbed of what was happened with that girl. Certainly, the delay was there in delivering the justice, and that delay was because of the many factors, as I have stated above. There were a lack of forensic, I may say, the institutions in India who can bring in the best of the results. So the delay in that particular case cannot only be attributed to the judicial system or to the lawyers, but yes, in many ways we can see that the lack of infrastructure and those scientific examinations of the DNAs, the dental structure, and all those things which were first time raised in that case to connect the accused with the crime, as we all have seen the web series also, that the Delhi crime, and we have also seen
Delhi crime.
Yeah, yes. And we have also seen what all has been transpired in the newspapers, that in that particular case the rapists try to destroy all the evidences. So for collecting all those evidences and by proving it by the scientific means, there was a lot of delay which was there in coming of those reports. However, the charge sheet was filed by the prosecution well within in time in that case. But yes, after they have been hanged, the second part of the question, the justice has been really delivered,
Yes.
or is like still lagging behind. So I may say now today that at least says that they cannot give a walk free, and there is a stretcher which is waiting for them, that if they will do such type of offense in future, they will be hanged till death. So yes, now after the capital punishment, there has been a deterrence somewhere, some extent in the society.
So I think we should have faith in our constitution as it constantly amends. So I think we should have faith and believe in what we see there.
Absolutely.
So there is another question put up. What are the procedures? I'll repeat the question. What are the procedures for medical examination of a rape victim prior to the institution of a case?
No, what could be the prior of the institution of a case? Until and unless the case is reported, how a medical examination can go? So I think this question is premature.
Exactly.
So
yes,
once a rape case is reported, then only the medical examination is being conducted by the IO. So whoever asked this question, I think this question is premature, and this question has to be asked that what is the procedure after a rape case has been reported.
Reported.
Yeah.
So could you tell us the procedure after it has been reported?
Yeah, for that there is a clear procedure which has been laid down. There are the guidelines that if the rape case has been reported,
Yes,
the registered is in FIR. Then after registering it in FIR, the woman constable, whoever will be allocated with the case, would take the victim along to any nearby government hospital where a medical legal certificate of that victim would be prepared. So in that medical legal certificate, whatever transpires from the victim's body or the genitals, those all would be recorded, and the samples would be lifted, and they would be kept in the seizure form to be sent for the medical examination later on for the coming of the reports. So this is a simple procedure which is adopted in a rape case, or I may say in any rape case.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, does it matter whether rape is a strange rape or an acquaintance rape in the eyes of the law? Which is more common?
In my view, rape is a rape. You should not take it what is more stringent and what is not more stringent. But court does not look it from that angle. Court look it from the angle of the evidence which is available on record. We, being the lawyers, are the eyes of the court who throw light on the evidence and the material collected by the prosecution. So for this question, I really think that the answer is, for me, it is no. The court does not see any of the rape, like stranger rape or acquaintance rape, that whether this is more or that is more. In my view, all rape are similar for court. The court see the evidence, and then according to that, court decides the matter.
So there's a question on marital rape.
Yeah.
So which you've already enlightened us about. She is asking, marital rape should be included in rape laws in India, I believe. What is your view, sir?
If for that particular thing, I have already given a webinar in the past 10 days back or 12 days back, whether marital rape should be made as an offense or not. In India, being the patriarchal society, in the legislature sitting there, most of the patriarchal members, for them, once they are married with a woman, or I may say the normal tendency, the sex with the woman is pious for them. That too with the wife. And whether there is a consent or not, that really does not matter for them. So once our society, once our law framers, they really think that there is nothing, a harm in it, the consent really doesn't matter when there is a wife and a husband, when the word no is not respected. So in all these circumstances, still India is lagging behind, I may say, while not constituting marital rape, as our bordering countries, Sri Lanka, Nepal, they have already considered, this marital rape as an offense. And
yes, sir.
To my understanding, we cannot really blame our judicial system for this. Judiciary would have done something if there would have been some law available on that. So if there is no law available on some particular subject, judiciary cannot really, hamper upon it or cannot throw their opinion on it. There was a case which went to the, I'll say to the Supreme Court, but in that also because of the lagging behind of this, I had that case also. I'll just tell you. In that case also it was
Okay,
happened
sir.
because there was no rape is made out and there is no offense as such. So therefore, yeah, this was Nimesh Bhai, Bharat Bhai Desai versus State of Gujarat 2019. It was a very recent judgment. And in this case, it was dealt with the important question of law whether forcing a wife to indulge in a sex without consent would amount to rape, punishable under Section 376 of IPC. So that this was the direct question which has been asked by this viewer also. So what was held by the court? Whether there is any concept of marital rape, the bench expressed his views and stated that a woman in this country can protect her life and liberty, but not her body within the marriage. So this was the opinion of the court. The bench was of the opinion that a husband cannot be permitted to violate the dignity by coercing the wife to engage in the sexual act without her full and free consent. But due to lacuna in the laws related to the marital rape, the court in this case gave the decision that husband is not liable to be convicted under Section 376 as marital rape is not covered under this section. So there is a clear judgment which has come up. So after coming of this judgment, there should be something which should be come up, and there should be a provision for including this marital rape as an offense in 376.
So regarding this, I think sex education should be implemented everywhere in India, so that even if a small amount of change can be brought through it, it would be really helpful.
Yeah, if you take it as are you giving as a suggestion, what I see that definitely education is an important part which has to be done, and not only the education related to the commission of sexual offences, if that would be imparted by the
Yes, sir.
state legal services authority in a broader manner, that would certainly bring important changes, and you will see there is a lot of difference in the commission of this crime and the report of this crime. It has done. We cannot force education on someone. We understand this thing that we cannot force education. If doesn't want to take the education, you cannot help it out. So definitely education has a very important role to play, but we cannot force it if somebody doesn't want to take the education.
Yes, yes, sir. What can be some of the possible steps to decrease rape crimes in India and also speed up the justice delivery system?
Yeah, in my view, if you are asking, there are a lot of changes which can be brought, not only at the level of the policing, but also at the level of the institution, the level of the court dispensing justice system, the level where we do
Yes,
the trials of the cases, and as I told you earlier, it can also be brought more speedy when there are more scientific institutions who can do the medical examinations.
Yes.
And the centers for forensic sciences, so we can have better reports in the disposal of the rape cases. So all this will together
Yes, sir.
make a sea change in developing the country as a whole to fight against this evil crime of rape.
Yes, sir. So I think some questions have been repeated, so I'll skip those questions, sir.
No problem.
You've already told us about them. Okay. So can you please put light on the case registered under POSCO Act? What is the situation in India in terms of these cases registered under POSCO?
Yeah, well, for POXO, there is a entirely different act which has been brought up. And
Yes, sir.
the difficulty which comes in the POXO cases is that the children who are involved there are minors, and most
Yes,
of the
sir.
time the POXO cases goes in acquittal. The reason behind that is that most of the, if we'll see the victims would be the near relatives, or the assailants would be from the family. And there are certain cases where the victims are mostly belonging to a socio economic backward society, where there is a thirst of money, and while we are trying with those cases statements, because of the threat, because of the force, or because of the money which has been given to their elderly members. But yes, all these things can also be worked upon if in the POXO cases the children would be kept in the separate homes where there are counselors for them, and those counselors would counsel them, and they should not made to
Yes.
feel that if something has happened to them, that's a evil against them. So they would be more, that would be more workable. And there are certain section in the POXO cases, while prosecution making a charge sheet for a POXO case really don't see that which are the possible sections should be applied. They just throw in, bombard the entire charge sheet with a number of sections of the POXO cases. But because of the lack of the knowledge at the policing level, most of these cases got result in acquittal. Speaking about one such topic in the POXO case, I've also shared the data of the Delhi district courts, wherein we have seen that the data is really very bad. If we see that in out of 100%, only 20 or 15% cases where there is a real conviction. Otherwise, in all the POXO cases, there are acquittals. So yes, for POXO cases, there is a real need to have some good investigating officers who do the investigation properly and then apply the section of the case,
Yes.
particular fact according to that, and then make a charge sheet.
Okay, sir. So there are too many comments. It's so difficult to find the questions.
I know.
So one girl has asked, what role does the DNA technology play in solving and prosecuting these crimes?
It's play a very, very, very important role. DNA is a science which has really broadened this subject, and because of which many cases which has went unreported has now been taken out, and those DNA has thrown a light, and because of those DNA reports, the victims have got the justice as the rapists have got been identified. Somewhere, if you have seen, we have taken this Nirbhaya case only. So there were certain these we have seen this nails part were, yeah,
Yes, sir.
nails parts were there on the body. Those were picked from the body, and after picking it, those were sent to the DNA, and the DNA report matches with one of the accused report, and then because of that the offender got identified, because that girl at that position was not in a position to identify the rapists. Another case which I saw in that case, the bite marks, as the bite marks, it happened in the Nirbhaya case also. The denture of these accused persons were prepared, it was got matched, then there was a similarity, and then the accused got identified. And sometimes we have seen that there has been an abortions. There have been uh, deliberate abortions, and those deliberate abortions resulted into some kind of medical problems in the girls, and thereafter when a DNA is obtained, then that DNA is matched with the DNA of the accused, and then we saw that yes, that person has done a sexual intercourse with that lady, and that would really help in prosecuting these rapists. So DNA, in my view, has a very important role in prosecuting the rape cases and bringing it to a real justice for the victims.
So there's another question. How far are the law change regarding sexual assault of the victims treated?
So yes, we have to see now that since sexual assault has also now been made as a graver offense. Earlier,
Yes, sir.
what was happening in most of the cases where the intercourse was not there. So these sexual assaults were very lighter section, and a person who has committed such a heinous act was let to go free in a small journey of 1 to 2 years of jail or imprisonment. But by now having a 2013 criminal law amendment, we have various sections starting from 354A to D, making the sexual assault more stringent, and even there are the punishments which have been now till life are there. So there has been now a justification with regard to the prosecution of those offenses. But a sexual assault, even if that marital rape we see, so if that is reported by a girl, so that only goes into the sexual assault under section 498A or under domestic violence act. Otherwise, it does not come within the definition of rape. So, but now after the rape definition being get amended, there has been so many changes in that. Even a foreign body has been, if subjected to a woman's body or her private part, then that would also amount to equal punishment in the rape. And even a woman who has been accomplice with the accused in committing a rape, she has also been made as a part of becoming a rapist. So there has been a lots and lots of improvements which have now come. So even the sexual assault offense has also been, if I say, had come in the category of serious offense, not as that much of rape, but yes, to some extent, if the person who commits it would definitely have to suffer a good amount of imprisonment and a punishment.
Yes, sir. So we have a last question. For criminologists, what is the ultimate evidence of a rape case with a dead victim? So you've already answered this question. Yeah. So from my part, I would like to ask one question. So, sir, humans, we know about the rape cases of humans, and to some extent we can even decode kind of the mentality behind it. But what would you like to say about the rape cases on animals? Recently there was a video of I don't remember the state exactly in India. A cow was being raped by a man.
So what
and it is inhuman to extreme levels to see such things happening.
So what we see this as a mindset, and a mindset of extreme level of lust, which cannot be controlled by someone.
So it's pure lust.
Which cannot be controlled by its mind or its body. For them, performing sex at any level or at anyone does not matter. These are the persons whom we say are not mentally stable. They are some kind of a psyche which is really to be looked into, and those who have committed such things not only should be punished, I'll say, but rather they should be asked that why and in what manner it was forced to them to commit such an offense. So my reason for asking them is not to make them a reformative man, but to get out the reasons which would help us in amending our laws to that extent. So this, in my view, is a totally a cruelsome act which has been done by that man onto the animals, because such act is not acceptable in our society, and as it was done on a cow, that is worshipped by us from the institutions levels. So it is.
These are holy animals.
So the real, the intention and the act which they have committed, under what circumstances they have done it, that has to be known, to get out from them that what was the real reason behind doing that act. So that
Yes.
was really a bad incident which has been reported, which has came in media, and those things should not be repeated. So there should be laws for that also.
Yes, sir. Sir, one user asks us about the transgender rapes.
Yeah.
I do not know. It's just asks what kind of transgender. I cannot actually understand the question. Can you tell us about the transgender right?
I'm not able to
I'm
get
not getting the question, sir.
when I am not able to get it.
Even me, sir. I'll just read it again. What about transgender rapes? I think he or she wants to know about if there are any different laws
No, there
on
are not.
transgenders regarding rapes.
There are
I
no
think
such,
that is it, sir. We have only.
because 377 has already been decriminalized.
Yes, sir.
So as such, there are not. Because the word 376, if we'll see, is by itself says, when an act has been done by a man against a woman, against her will. So in those things, if they say it a transgender and they bring it to report it, so then those many things with regard to the biological and the other things would be seen, and then it would be made to understand that in what circumstances it was happened. But that would certainly be, if reported, that would be reported under section 376 only. But as such, if we say for the gay relations and all, there is no such specific provision which has been yet been made by our legislatures or there being in the Indian Penal Code.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
I think these. I think we're done with the questions, sir.
Okay. So shall we conclude now?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Thank you so much for the session, sir.
Thank you so much to all of you for joining this wonderful session. I thank you to all my viewers and the participants who have joined me in this short journey for understanding this topic today, which has been given by the Legal Roots Society. And I think the topic was very well within its meaning. And I have tried to make out all the possible points which are related to this evil crime of rape. And from taking to the case laws, to the facts, and to the practicalities, what should be done. I have all discussed the reports also. So with this, I would like to thank you all of you. And I'm concluding my today's webinar on this topic. Thank you so much. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to the host, and thank you to Preeti, who have been constant throughout with me in this present webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.